leave early. So briefly, I'm going to call to order with my bicycle bell. The September 12th meeting of the Standing Resolution of the Code Board District. And first we have non-agenda items. Now, because we have a limited time, the public comment will be limited to 1 minute. Oh, I'm sorry, we'll have to do the roll call first and then we'll do public comment.
Thank you, Chair Shu. I would like to remind the members of the public that are joining us via teleconference to please go ahead and join us now using the instructions that are provided on your screen. I would also like to note for the record that members Elo Rivera, Gomez, Lawson, Reamer, Martinez, and Sanchez have notified us that they will be absent from today's proceedings. All remaining board members are participating in person. With that, member report back Garcia. Present. Member Bush.
Here.
Member Gloria.
Here.
Member Medina.
Here.
Member Vargas. Vargas here. And Chair Shu.
Here.
Thank you.
And because there's a limited amount of time today, unfortunately, public comments will be limited to 1 minute. And we'll try to move that fast as we can through our agenda. So can we call first public comment? Non-agenda item.
Thank you, Chair Shu. I would like to call for our non-agenda public communication speakers. You will have 1 minute to address the board. Please begin by stating your name for the record and make sure that you self-regulate your time utilizing the timer that will be on the screen. Our first speaker is Nicholas Baul.
Good afternoon, APCD governing board members and staff, Nicholas Baul with the Environmental Health Coalition. I'm speaking today during non-agenda public comment to elevate the community's interest in seeing an indirect source rule for San Diego County. EHC penned and delivered policy proposal for a potential indirect source rule framework in early October, where we kind of outlined a rule that we think emphasizes environmental justice. Through that rule, we outlined a potential rule that would regulate facilities over 100,000 square feet throughout the county. And in San Diego's disadvantaged communities, we focused on facilities operating within 1,000 feet of sensitive receptors. We think that that's a measured policy approach, and we hope that this APCD governing board and the coming year continue to address these solutions through an indirect source. We'll look forward to working with you all.
Thank you. Our next speaker is, Alita Cochran, I believe.
Alita Kachari.
You'll have 1 minute to address the board. Please begin by stating your name.
Hello, all. My name is Alita Kachari. Good afternoon. I'm here also in support of the Environmental Health Coalition's indirect source rule proposal. I'm a medical student at the UC San Diego School of Medicine and Medical Scientist Training Program, and I want to share some health data that I think is relevant to your decision on this. From the California Air Resource Board, we know that diesel exhaust contains more than 40 cancer-causing substances, and diesel particulate matter exposure contributes to 1,400 premature deaths in California. However, in our portside communities, including Barrio National City, that exposure to diesel particulate matter, which comes from these warehouses and idling diesel trucks that the indirect source rule goes to help prevent exposure to, that exposure makes up to 84% of the cancer risk for an individual living in our neighborhoods. To give you a little bit of context, that is more than you would have cancer risk from just smoking or having a family history genetically of cancer. It's unacceptable. The active breathing, living, and trying to sleep in our portside communities amidst this problem and solvable with the indirect source. Well, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Cesar Javier. You will have 1 minute to address the board.
Correction. My wife first.
Please begin by stating your name for the record. You'll have 1 minute to address the board. The timer will be on the screen.
Thank you, ma'am.
Ms. Javier, you may begin. Please begin by stating your name for the record.
Good afternoon. I am Purita Javier, victim of toxic since 1997, and my husband, Cesar Javier here, beginning in 2012 from Next Door Ceramics Manufacturing and Cal Industrial Home Business since 1984, owned and operated by Donald J. Fraser and wife Evelyn Fraser, located at 5238 Streetview Drive, San Diego, 92105, and situated in the residential zone designated community. Since through research and studies explains that hazards in ceramics are on contaminants or foreign particulates.
You follow the rule. Please sit down. Give me 1 minute. Ready?
Please begin by stating your name for the record.
Ready? Mr. Mayor, thank you, you won. Because you are accountable as a father of our finest city. You failed us in the past, and I hope you will not fail us because this is a wrong implementation issue that impacts our health, safety, and public welfare. This is not about politics. Why? Because this is a very views, diversity, diverse opinions. Therefore, we base it on science, and you are not using science in your decision making. Yes, ma'am? Air pollution control districts has tools all about science, accurately determining whether it has odor, whether it has air contaminants or air pollutant. Your is using the nose olfactory measure. Why can't you use your tools? Sorry. Thank you.
Our next speakers will be joining us virtually. Our first speaker is Alicia Sanchez. You will have 1 minute to address the board. Please begin by stating your name for the record and self-regulate your time using the timer on your screen.
Buenas tardes. ¿Me escuchan? Buenas tardes, ¿me escuchan?
Buenas tardes, soy su intérprete. I am the interpreter. I am going to interpret everything they said, the yeah, and everything is complete. Soy su intérprete, voy a interpretar todo. Por favor, tengan en cuenta que estoy repitiendo todo. Por favor, prosiga. Tiene 1 minuto, puede ver el tiempo en la pantalla y se le avisará. Tiene 2 minutos. Usted puede ver
2 minutos, 1 minuto para que ella hable y usted tiene 1 minuto para traducir.
Ok. Ok, tiene 1 minuto para hablar y yo traduciré en 1 minuto. Interpretaré.
Please proceed.
Por favor, empiece.
Buenas tardes. Mi nombre es Alicia Sánchez. Soy residente de National City y parte del comité ABC17. Aquí en mi comunidad hay alrededor de 200 almacenes, por lo tanto, entran demasiados camiones con diésel, por lo que hay demasiada contaminación como resultado de las condiciones que padecen asma, problemas respiratorios y hasta cáncer en nuestra comunidad. Los estudios que hace CARP.
Señora,
¿Perdón?
espere un momento que tiene que traducir y la señora me usó una pluma. O sea que usted tiene que hablar y luego la traductora va a hablar y luego usted habla y luego la traductora habla.
Ok, muy bien. Ok, muy bien, señora Nora. ¿Vuelvo a empezar?
Ajá, ¿puede empezar, por favor?
Ok, gracias. Buenas tardes, mi nombre es Alicia Sánchez, soy residente de National City y parte del comité ABC17.
Good evening. I am part of the, I'm a resident of National City and part of the committee.
8617.
86.
Aquí en mi comunidad hay alrededor de 200 almacenes, por lo tanto, hay demasiados camiones de diésel.
In my community, there are too many storages and therefore too many diesel trucks.
Como resultado, a estas condiciones se padecen muchos problemas de asma, problemas respiratorios y hasta cáncer en mi comunidad.
As a result, there are many health problems, asthma problems, respiratory problems, and even cancer in my community.
Los estudios que hace CARB hay un 84% de riesgo de cáncer en nuestras comunidades portuarias debido a las partículas de diésel.
According to the studies, there is an 84% of risk of disease in the poor community.
APCD toma medidas a nuestras... APCD debe tomar medidas a nuestro vecindario de ya no experimentar tantos impactos negativos de salud.
APCD should run some research in our community and stop experimenting and risking our health.
Les pedimos a todos los almacenes que operan dentro de nuestra comunidad, cerca de escuelas, parques, clínicas y residencias, se regularicen por la regla de fuentes indirectas.
We ask all agencies that operate in our communities close to school, residences. ¿Puedo repetir esto, por favor?
Ok. Le pedimos que todos los almacenes que operan dentro de nuestra comunidad, cerca de escuelas, parques, clínicas y residencias, regularicen por la regla de fuentes indirectas.
We ask all the storages that operate close to schools, clinics, residences to regulate through their rules.
Thank you. The time's concluded. Thank you. Our next speaker is Juan Lozano. You have 1 minute to address the board. Please begin by stating your name for the record.
Hello, my name is Juan Carlos Lozano. I'm a Logan resident with the EHC. Good afternoon to the San Diego APCD Governing Board members and staff. Our communities have been diesel death zones for generations, and as a result, our communities such as National City and Barrio Logan are diesel death zones. We have a high concentration of warehouse facilities in these portside neighborhoods, and the indirect source rule would provide another tool for us to regulate trucks coming in and out of our neighborhoods and to continue to hold our community's health and well-being as a top priority. With that said, can the APCD of San Diego County please develop an indirect source rule that addresses warehouse pollution in environmental justice impacted communities like Barrio Logan and West National City? Thank you for your time and consideration for the work that you do to better our communities and air quality. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Margarita Moreno. You will have 1 minute to address the board. Please begin by stating your name for the record.
¿Me pueden traducir, por favor? Porque voy a hablar en español.
Señora, tiene una intérprete. Yo voy a repetir todo lo que usted diga. Lo voy a repetir como si fueran mis propias palabras. Le pido que por favor hable en frases cortas. ¿Está bien?
Está bien. Buenas tardes, mi nombre es Margarita Moreno, soy residente de National City.
Good afternoon. I am Margarita Moreno. I am a resident of National City.
Tengo 13 años en esta comunidad y también soy parte del comité AB617.
I've been living for 3 years in this community, and I am also part of the committee APCD.
En National City tenemos el problema de que hay bastantes bodegas cerca de nuestro vecindario.
In National City, we have the problem that we have all these storages close to our neighborhood.
Esto afecta mucho ya que pasan muchos camiones y hay veces que obstruyen las entradas de las casas.
That affect us because there's a lot of truck traffic, and they obstruct our entrances, our home entrances.
Y el congestionamiento que hacen es terrible.
And there is a terrible traffic.
Por otra parte, es muy dañino para la comunidad, ya que nos contaminan el aire y nos enferman constantemente.
And it is unhealthy or very bad for our community because they contaminate the air and the environment.
Me gustaría que hubiera una regulación, ya que estos almacenes son una fuente indirecta de contaminación.
I'd like to have a regulation due to these storages are a source of contamination.
Thank you.
Gracias por su atención.
Thank you for your attention.
Thank you. Our last speaker is Montserrat Hernandez. You'll have 1 minute to address, I'm sorry, you'll have 2 minutes to address the board. Please begin by stating your name for the record.
Buenas tardes. Voy a hablar en español.
Señora Monserrat, soy su intérprete, voy a interpretar todo es confidencial, lo repetiré como si fueran mis propias palabras. Recuerden hablar en frases cortas.
Ok. Buenas tardes, miembros del comité directivo de APCD. Mi nombre es Montserrat Hernández y soy residente de Logan Heights y parte del comité AB617.
Good afternoon. I am Montserrat Hernandez. I am a resident of Logan Heights. I am part of the committee AB617.
En Barrio Logan tenemos bodegas y almacenes cerca de viviendas, escuelas.
In Barrio Logan, we have storages close to home and school.
El problema es que vienen a estos negocios camiones a base de diésel.
The problem is diesel trucks use this storage.
Y esto provoca que haya más contaminación en el aire y eso es lo que respiramos todos los días.
And that makes our air contaminate, or that contaminates our air. We inhale it there every day.
Pedimos que se regulen estos negocios y que haya una transición de camiones de diésel a camiones eléctricos.
We are asking for regulation for these stretches and trucks, and we would like to have a transition from diesel trucks to electric
Para reducir las emisiones contaminantes.
to reduce the contaminating image.
Por favor, desarrollen una regla de fuentes indirectas
Please develop a rule of indirect sources
para aplicarla en las comunidades de Barrio Logan, National City.
Señora, gracias, se acabó su tiempo.
Es que usted traduce muy lento, por eso no podemos decir todo lo que queremos. Muchas gracias, bye.
Which the translator is too slow and
Thank you. That concludes public testimony on non-agenda public communication.
Thank you. Do we have any non-agenda comments from board members? If not, I have something to convey to the board. This is a resolution that was passed by the Mesa City Council.
Then we have one more public comment
Oh, you have one
speaker
more?
for Jack Shu.
Well, yeah, normally we don't fill out paperwork for that. It is a resolution, that was passed by the City Council, of La Mesa, and the resolution calls for it to be conveyed to various public agencies, Pandag, Caltrans, Park, and the San Diego District, since we deal with the solution that the city suffers from. And just to note, it's a resolution which reconfirms the city's commitment to have cleaner air in the city of La Mesa and ask for assistance and aid from all the other public agencies that deal with transportation and pollution that affects the city of La Mesa. So I just wanted to convey that since it was passed this week, we didn't have time to provide a formal coverage sheet and conveyance to the board. And since this board may not, well, the configuration of this board may change a little bit and may not come even in 2 months, I thought I would pass it out today instead. So thank you for that. If there aren't any other comments from board members, we have to approve the September 12th, 2024 statement of proceedings. Have any comments or motion? Moved by Vargas. Second. Seconded by Gloria. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All non-attending nay. Hearing none, any abstentions? If not, we move on to the next item on the agenda.
Thank you. With members Elo Rivera, Gomez, Lawson, Reamer, Martinez, and Sanchez absent, that motion passes with those board members who are present voting aye.
Thank you. Consent calendar. Any comments? Do we have any public comments for consent calendar?
We have received no request to speak on this item.
Any comments or any things that to be pulled by the board members? If not, I would entertain a motion to proceed. Moved by
Second.
and seconded by Vargas. And Vargas, everything. Yes, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any nays? Abstentions?
Thank you. With members Elo Rivera, Gomez, Lawson, Reamer, Martinez, and Sanchez absent, that motion passes with those board members who are present voting aye.
I'm gonna ask for a change in the agenda as printed, to move up item number 5, that to be right after item 2, because we may be losing a forum and some members have to leave, so I wanted to get through the important item that we must deal with today before members have to leave. So we are first go on with number 1, and the resolution designating dates and times for regular meetings of the San Diego County Air Pollution Control District's governing board for 2025. And do we need comment from Air Pollution Control District Officer Paul Corbett?
Sure, I'll make this very brief. The calendar proposed for next year is in your packet. You'll notice that we're keeping to that every other month schedule, roughly starting in February. And the reason for that is to allow for the city selection for the appointments. That we anticipate will be occurring for this board at the end of January. So we would recommend this calendar to your board for adoption.
Okay, do we have any public comments on this item?
We've received no request to speak on this item.
Any discussion or questions from board members? If not, I'll entertain a motion to that the contract as recommended by the Air Pollution Control District. Move to approve. Marcus Bush,
I second.
seconded by Dr. Robert Garcia. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any nays? Abstentions?
Thank you. That motion adopts a resolution entitled Resolution Setting the Dates and Times for Regular Meetings of the San Diego County Air Pollution Control District Governing Board and calendar year 2025, with members Elo Rivera, Gomez, Lawson, Reamer, Martinez, and Sanchez absent. That motion passes with all board members who are present voting aye.
We're on to E2, adoption and proposed amendments in Rule 40, permit and other fees. This is something we've heard before, and we'll have a report from Stephanie. For services first.
Membership,
I'm sorry, it's Michael Watt that's going to give us a report. Somehow I read this wrong.
No problem. I'll give a brief introduction. So, as Chair Shu alluded to, this item is the second of two hearings on this proposed item, which is a revision to Rule 40, which sets the fees for district permitting and other services. There have been no changes to the proposal that was presented at the first hearing in September, which are detailed in the staff report and the associated attachments for this item. The staff report also includes a summary of public comments received and district responses to those comments. The requested action for this item are to, one, find that the action is exempt from the requirements of the California Environmental Quality Act because CEQA does not apply to fee modifications for the purposes of meeting operating expenses, and two, to adopt a resolution to amend Rule 40. Staff is prepared to provide a brief presentation on this item if the board so desires, but we can skip that if it's not needed.
So first question is if any board members have any questions or ask for presentation from staff. Yes, now we'll go on to public comment. Public comments on this item.
Chair Shu, we received no request to speak on this item.
Given that there are no other questions from board members, I take motion for accepting this change. Item 40. So moved by Mayor Gloria.
Second.
Second. Okay. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any nays? Abstentions?
Thank you. That motion adopts a resolution entitled Resolution Adopting Amendments to Rule 40 Permits and Other Fees of Regulation 3 of the Rules and Regulations of the San Diego County Air Pollution Control District, with members Elo Rivera, Gomez, Lawson, Weimer, Martinez, and Sanchez absent. That motion passes with those board members who are present voting aye.
Thank you very much. We're going to move on to item 5, update on the San Diego APCD's efforts to address ongoing sewage odor problems in the Tijuana River Valley. So we have a staff presentation starting Paul.
Thank you, Chair Shu. Good afternoon, Chair Shu and governing board members. This item is an update on SDAPCD's efforts to address the ongoing crisis of sewage odors in the Tijuana River Valley. The SDAPCD team has been working as quickly as possible to put programs in place which will provide some relief to local residents within the bounds of our current resources and jurisdiction. Next slide, please. As a reminder, during the last governing board meeting on September 12th, we were directed to take the actions shown on this slide to contribute to the efforts of many local, state, and federal agencies trying to mitigate the environmental and public health impacts caused by untreated sewage and industrial wastewater flows in the Tijuana River. In this presentation, we'll provide an update on these efforts, as well as our ongoing monitoring and enforcement efforts in the area. For more detail on these efforts, I will now turn it over to Kathy Kean, Chief of Emission Reduction Strategies, to discuss our air purifier program.
Thank you, Paula. The first question we face for the board directed air purifier program, which we've named air. Oh, next slide. Sorry. So excited. We're calling it air. Is what resources we can use to carry it out. Staff went to work and identified $9 million that can be used for the procurement and distribution of air purifiers. The funding sources identified so far include $2.7 million in interest from our AB 617 Community Air Protection Incentives Program. This interest is currently available in APCD's fund balance account. Although these funds could have been used for other community-supported emission reduction projects like electric trucks and charging infrastructure, we and the communities understand the urgency of the current air quality crisis and the importance of providing some level of temporary relief to residents impacted by these odors. The funding on the slide also includes $160,000 in EPA grant funds. On September 12th, the governing board authorized SDAPCD to enter into an agreement with the County of San Diego to provide additional funding to supplement the county's air purifier program. As SDAPCD and county staff worked to develop an agreement, we realized it would be more efficient and less confusing to the community
for SDAPCD to retain the funds and include them as part of the larger SDAPCD program. Staff will continue to coordinate with staff to share information and lessons learned from their pilot program as the SDAPCD AIR program is implemented. In addition, SDAPCD has tentatively been awarded $50,000 in grant funding from the County of San Diego's Neighborhood Reinvestment Program and $10,000 from the City of Solana Beach to purchase additional air programs. Staff estimates this total funding amount of $2.9 million is sufficient to procure up to 10,000 air purifiers and potentially more. It will not, however, cover the cost of staff time and other internal costs necessary to run a program to provide such a large number of purifiers. APCD staff intends to utilize administrative funding from the AB 617 incentive program to help cover some of these implementation costs, but additional resources will likely be needed as the program develops. Next slide, please. Staff worked with CARB, the California Air Resources Board, to determine appropriate air purifier specifications to help provide some level of relief from these odors. Given the governing board's direction that the purifiers also contain potassium permanganate or an equivalent material to specifically address hydrogen sulfide odors, staff developed specifications to inform a request for bids, which the County Department of Purchasing and Contracting made available in October. The request for bids is closed. The vendor has been selected. We want to thank the Department of Purchasing and Contracting for working so quickly to make this happen. Some of the specifications outlined in the RFP are shown here on the slide. It also includes provisions for various delivery and distribution options, along with ordering procedures to ensure the selected purifiers will be available as soon as possible. Next slide, please. To remain consistent with the county's pilot program, SDAPCD intends to use the county's original geographic boundary to determine if households are eligible to participate in the program. To simplify administration, SDAPCD is also proposing that households with a child attending a partner school located in the boundary be eligible to participate in the program, even if that household falls outside the geographic area. APCD anticipates that the number of purifiers distributed to households outside the boundary based on school enrollment will be minimal. Eligibility will be limited to 1 purifier per household and verified by participants by providing proof of address. We are developing a system where impacted households can apply for a purifier through an online portal as well. Next slide. Staff has heard the board and community's desire to prioritize purifiers for the most vulnerable residents, including children, seniors, and those with health conditions. We've also heard a need to prioritize those households most exposed to odors. To do this, staff is developing a 2-tiered prioritization process. The first tier is through an outreach and partnership network, specifically focusing on organizations like schools, health clinics, and child and senior centers. By working with these groups and reaching out to their existing members and families, the initial rounds of purifiers could be distributed specifically to these focused populations. SDAPCD staff has already had discussions with several schools, community organizations, Sharp Healthcare, and the City of Imperial Beach, all of whom have expressed a willingness to help support these efforts. The second tier could be used for larger publicly accessible distribution events. While we're working on the details, this prioritization is expected to have at least 3 components: presence of children in the home, presence of seniors in the home, and how close the household is to the Tijuana River. Using these components, we envision people who register could be assigned a priority score, which would then be used to determine who is invited to participate in each public distribution event. Our staff is coordinating with the County of San Diego to obtain information on the households that registered for their pilot program, but did not yet receive a purifier, so they can be incorporated into this distribution effort. Team's also putting together information to share with the public this effort. So the next part. Next slide, please. Thank you, Kathy. Next, Melina Mesa, our program coordinator for government and public relations, will address our public information campaign plan. Yeah.
Thank you, Paula. SDAPCD, next slide. SDAPCD is consistently working to provide the public with the latest program developments and milestones to ensure the public has the most recent information. We have developed a public information plan to provide accurate, timely, and clear information about the odors near Tijuana River Valley that highlights all SDAPCD efforts. The public information campaign is focused on informing the public about hydrogen sulfide threshold guidance levels through the community hydrogen sulfide guidance, creating awareness of the hydrogen sulfide monitoring dashboard, where they can find or sign up to receive odor advisories, and where they can register to receive an air purifier. SDAPCD will be using community forward outreach materials to accompany the promotion and awareness of all of its programs and use various communication channels, including social media, press releases, email distribution lists, and through our community partners. Most importantly, it's focused on creating awareness and where the public can easily find this information and inform. Next slide. In addition, the public can visit our dedicated Tijuana River Valley webpage, where they can find the latest information on all SDAPCD programs. This slide shows a screenshot of our Tijuana River Valley landing page, where the public can click on each topic, detailed information about our program, find resources from our agency partners, and access our programs. Additional information regarding these outreach efforts is detailed in attachment B of the board package.
Next slide, please. Thank you, Melina. A critical piece of this public outreach is ensuring the community is informed when hydrogen sulfide levels become elevated. We've been working closely with the County of San Diego to develop a system for providing odor advisories and guidance to the public. Next slide, please. In the past months, we worked closely with the County Public Health Department, the Department of Environmental Health and Quality, the California Department of Public Health, and the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency and the Agency for Toxic Substance and Disease Registry on the development of guidance related to the thresholds of hydrogen sulfide that would trigger different public health recommendations for the community. This guidance is currently available on our website, and together with our monitoring data will provide a clear picture for members of the community on what to do if they experience hydrogen sulfide odors and if the hydrogen sulfide levels reach certain elevations. With this information, SDAPCD is also working with our partner agencies on an alert process in case a more proactive public health approach is needed if dangerous levels of hydrogen sulfide that pose an immediate threat to life or health are reached. For this purpose, we have initiated conversations with the County Office of Emergency Services regarding the board's direction to propose an agreement with the county and the city of San Diego OES to provide emergency alerts and rapid response in case of an imminent threat to public health from air quality issues. While it's been determined by county OES legal counsel that there's no legal requirement for a formalized agreement, we will be working on an agreement to outline the purpose of the alert system, the process for sending alerts through OES and its available alert systems, as well as documenting the agencies that should be involved in determining the content of the alerts and when they are needed. An agreement will be brought to this board for approval at a future meeting. Next slide, please. As directed, we also sent a letter to both President Biden and Governor Newsom requesting a declaration of a state of emergency at the state and federal levels. Next slide, please. This letter was sent on October 16th, 2024, asking for a reevaluation of prior requests for declaration of a state of emergency due to this crisis, and it's attached to your packet as attachment C. The letter addresses our actions to address the crisis and notes that local response is not sufficient to solve the underlying cause of the crisis. It also documented the community complaints of odor and health impacts associated with infrastructure failures, extreme heat, and the highest ever flows in the Tijuana River. We also took the opportunity to emphasize the impacts to infrastructure from natural events, as well as the extreme heat event impacts to odor levels, complaints, and air contaminant emissions. And finally, we highlighted that despite improving conditions, including repairs to infrastructure, cooler temperatures, and reduced flows, we are still seeing unacceptably high levels of hydrogen sulfide in the community. Next slide, please. Beyond these efforts, SDAPCD has also been continuing our monitoring of hydrogen sulfide and odor surveillance efforts in the area. I'd like to ask Chief of Monitoring and Technical Services, David Soderman, and Chief of Compliance, William Jacks, to address these efforts. David?
Thank you, Paula. Next slide, please. As part of the Community Air Protection Program, also known as AB 617 program, SDAPCD is engaged with the international border community to learn more about their air quality challenges and help reduce emissions in the community. As part of this effort, we developed a community air monitoring plan in collaboration with the community. The plan included monitoring of hydrogen sulfide levels as one of the top concerns from the community because of sewage odors from the Tijuana River and its impact on the community's health and quality of life. We are actively working on deploying a network of reference-grade equipment to monitor levels of hydrogen sulfide. To help inform these efforts, we have considered input from the South Coast Air Quality Management District and from a team of researchers from the University of California, San Diego, and San Diego State University, who are currently conducting air, water quality, and public health research at the Tijuana River. Furthermore, we sought assistance from the Environmental Protection Agency, or EPA, and the California Air Resources Board, or CARB, to provide resources to set up our hydrogen sulfide monitoring program. The EPA recently awarded an Inflation Reduction Act grant to support other monitoring needs at SDAPCD and has now provided flexibility to use this grant to support our hydrogen sulfide monitoring network. CARB has lent us a hydrogen sulfide reference grade monitor. In addition, South Coast Air Quality Management District has provided immediate support by conducting one-time mobile air quality sampling, as well as lending us a reference grade monitor. The two monitors we have on loan from CARB and South Coast has allowed the APCD to quickly supplement our monitoring efforts while our own order for our own equipment is fulfilled by the manufacturer. At this time, two reference grade H2S analyzers are located in the community, one at San Diego Fire Station number 29 in San Isidro, and the other at Berry Elementary School in Nestor. It is expected that a third reference grade instrument analyzer will be located at the Imperial Beach Civic Center within the next 2 weeks and will be operational by the end of November. Additionally, SDAPCD has tentatively been awarded $150,000 in grant funding from the County of San Diego's Neighborhood Reinvestment Program to support the purchase of a mobile monitoring vehicle and associated equipment to enhance our hydrogen sulfide monitoring efforts in the Tijuana River Valley. Next slide, please. We would like to take this opportunity to also share our most recent hydrogen sulfide monitor readings. The levels of hydrogen sulfide have remained relatively low in the past few weeks, as measured at our monitoring station in San Isidro, depicted in blue on the graph, and at our monitoring site at Berry Elementary School in the community of Nestor, depicted in green on the graph. This graph shows hourly hydrogen sulfide concentrations for the past week. For the most part, at levels below the 30 parts per billion threshold established by OEHOP. At this level, some members of the public may experience health effects such as headaches and nausea. But it's important to note that sensitivity to odors varies widely from person to person. Some individuals may experience odor-related health symptoms at levels lower than 30 parts per billion. I will now turn it over to my colleague, William Jock, the Chief of the Compliance Division. Next slide, please.
Thank you, David. We would like to provide a quick update on odor complaints reported by Tijuana River Valley community. As shown by this graph, since the last board meeting on September 12th, there has been a significant decrease in air quality complaints. The red line on the graph is when the board meeting occurred. Up to that point, we had investigated approximately 2,000 odor complaints reported between July and September of 2024. These investigations confirmed strong, persistent odors impacting South Bay community. In response, we issued notices of violation to the U.S. International Boundary and Water Commission, or USIWC, and its contractor, Veolia, for public nuisance violations under local and state regulations. Our investigation found that outdated infrastructure and inadequate maintenance at U.S. IBWC facilities contributed to these odors. Since the last meeting, U.S. IBWC has completed essential repairs to equipment for treating cross-border flow. However, SDAPCD has investigated an additional 450 odor complaints as untreated discharges continue to flow into the Tijuana River from across the border, impacting nearby communities. Since July, our compliance team has dedicated over 2,000 hours to investigating odor complaints related to the Tijuana River. This includes hours of long late night inspections from our after-hour inspection team and significant effort to process the complaint data, which includes work from inspectors, supervisors, compliance support staff, ITU. Despite these extensive efforts and the enforcement actions taken, this issue remains unresolved. The South Bay communities will continue to experience impacts until the untreated cross-border flows are stopped from entering both the Tijuana River and the ocean. I'll turn it over now back to Paula to close out our.
Thank you, William. Next slide, please. So as demonstrated in this presentation, SDAPCD has dedicated significant resources to address this critical issue, reallocating efforts and funding from several divisions and programs. This slide illustrates a substantial commitment we have made despite these allocations not being anticipated or included in the current year's fiscal year's budget. I want to recognize the incredible team members at SDAPCD. I have a few of them up here with me and several more in the audience that have been involved in these efforts that have gotten us to this point. Over the past several months, up to 30 staff members have been involved at various levels, from monitoring network deployment and responding to complaints to development of the air purifier program and conducting public outreach. This unprecedented effort includes the $2.7 million investment, likely more investment in air purifiers, resources that otherwise would have supported emission reduction initiatives such as electrification projects. We anticipate that this level of involvement will be necessary for the foreseeable future. Moving forward, we will seek additional resources and advocate for support to sustain these efforts. We will continue to keep the governing board informed of this program's demands as we assess future budget needs. It's important to highlight that this reallocation may delay implementation of other programs. The intensive resources required to manage this response impact our agency's capacity to meet objectives across multiple areas as staff and funding are shifted to prioritize this crisis. Nevertheless, we recognize the urgency of this moment and the need for all agencies with a connection to this issue, whether local, state, or federal, to work together to bring relief to these communities. We know that our efforts represent only temporary and partial solutions to this crisis. But we are committed to doing what we can to provide information and resources to the public and to bring some relief and to hold IBWC accountable for its failures to address this situation. That concludes staff's presentation, and we're happy to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you. Let's move to public comments. Madam Clerk, do we have any public commenters on this matter?
Thank you, Chair Shu. We have one member of the public that's requested to speak, Mr. Cesar Javier. You will have 1 minute to address the board. I ask that you please begin by stating your name for the record, and you can self-regulate your time using the timer that will be on the screen. You may begin when you're ready.
Thank you. I'll try to encapsulate this in one. We are victims of toxicity, and I comment no, when you're cooking, meaning resolving this Tijuana River issue. Why? Why? You know the answer. It's not timely. It's been there since 1993. And now you're buying instrument to confirm 1993 issue. Odor. Your outreach program is failure because the mayor, our father in our political system, his priority is to build park in the contaminated geographical area. Your outreach program is failing. You see, look. Another comment. You're not using your brain. I'm sorry. It is general, including me.
Your time is concluded.
You see, 1 minute, just to tell you, I don't disagree with your plan and your actions. It is very minimal. Thank you. On record.
That concludes public testimony on this item.
What about the victim?
Thank you.
Sorry, ma'am.
So first and foremost, I just want to say a couple of things about this. I appreciate that. I want to thank the staff for all of the movement, right, for APCD, the APCD team. When they introduced the pilot program back in June of 2024, and we're able to move the 100,000, we knew it wasn't going to be enough, and we were able to distribute 412 of the filters. And then the EPA came in with another 150,000, and now that money is going to be part of APCD. I think we're heading in the right path. I want to publicly say thank you to Governor Newsom. I also want to say thank you to Chairwoman Randall, Carr, for the many times of being able to have conversations with her about her understanding how important this issue is to our community, and that it is the Tijuana River Valley component of the region, right? So it includes City of Ventura Beach, parts of the City of San Diego, which includes Nestor, the southern portion of parts of San Isidro, and even in some of the areas in Chula Vista. And I think some of you know that Chula Vista just also introduced a resolution to support the emergency as well. So I want to say thank you for all of the work. And I know that when last time I was here in a couple of conversations we had, we said, I think it's going to take about 10,000 filters, right, to be able to do this. And I want to call it a first phase, because I think that's what it is, right? Because the filters are going to be available for about a year. So it's two replacements, right?
It's the initial purifier and a replacement filter.
Yeah, so I want to make sure we put that on record so we can manage our community's expectations, because this is going to last for about a year, right? And my intent in this pilot program, I want to make sure it's very clear what it was. It was a temporary solution for a crisis that our community is facing. And so I appreciate that it's been mentioned a couple of times that we're taking money away from different places. But I want to remind folks that this is exactly what the Air Pollution Control District is supposed to be doing. And I'm not going to put words in the mayor's mouth in terms of why he actually led the efforts to ensure that this entity was separate from the county, so that we could actually take our role in a very different way, so that we can actually monitor air pollution in our communities. And so I understand why we have to set it up and why we have to say that we have to move things, but I think what the reality is that this hasn't been prioritized, right? And it should have been prioritized a long time ago. And so I want to make sure that we emphasize how important this is. And I want to thank like I said, the APCD staff for moving so quickly. I want to also highlight and acknowledge the team at the County of San Diego, because APCD is no longer under their purview, right? But they've been true partners. We've been true partners in this process. This is a regional issue. And we can't say to our communities, no, sorry, that is not our jurisdiction. There's somebody else that's doing it. And so we take this very seriously and want to make sure to continue to work together. I do want to highlight that we have created an incident command within our Office of Emergency Services that is monitoring the data and the work on a day-to-day basis. And so we're going to continue to be true partners in this process. And so before I make a motion on this, I want to also emphasize and remind folks that, you know, right now, today, it was emphasized that we need to make sure that we put pressure on the IBWC. But I think we have to remember, this is a federal issue, and this is beyond just the IBWC, right? It's a bigger issue, and we need to make sure that our federal government continues to understand that, you know, our congressional delegation has really pushed and has gotten a lot of resources already. We sent another letter in partnership with Congressman Scott Peters for another additional money, and we're going to continue to do this work. But we have to remember, this is not just the IBWC. I mean, it is the IBWC, but let's call it what it is. This is a global international issue that needs to be addressed by the Mexican government and the work that we have to do on our side as well. So let's not forget that when we're having these conversations, because we have to be very clear when we are advocating for this work of what it means and what it looks like. And so I appreciate that we've moved fast enough and that we are able to now have a dashboard and the resources that are being planned for that. And so I want to go ahead and make a motion and number one, that we receive the update from the team to how we're addressing the sewage orders in the River Valley. Number two, to establish the appropriations of the $2.7 million in the Air Quality AB 617 fund. Contribute to others to purchase air purifiers for the Tijuana River Valley Improvement Relief Effort. I love the name. And very creative. And authorize the air pollution control officer or the designee to apply for and accept grant funds in the amount of $200,000 from the County of San Diego Neighborhood Reinvestment Program. And from the County of San Diego and the Neighborhood Reinvestment Program from Supervisor District 3. And enter into agreement with the county establishing appropriations of $100,000 in capital assessment equipment expenditures for the purchase of a mobile monitor vehicle and associated equipment to support SDAPCD hydrogen sulfide monitoring efforts in the Tijuana River Valley, and establish appropriations of $50,000 in contributions to others to purchase air purifiers to support the Tijuana River Valley air improvement relief effort. And then authorize the air pollution control officer or their designee to apply for and accept current and future funding from local, state, and federal agencies and in turn into an associated funding agreement to support SDAPCD's actions to address ongoing sewage orders in the Tijuana River Valley. And I would like to add a number 5 to this, and that is to report back once everything gets done, an assessment of how do we quickly how can we update or what do you need from us as the budgets are going to come forward? And I don't know if this has to be much of that you're all writing right now. Yeah. but I want to make sure that how do we activate systems in place, because right now it's happening in the Tijuana River Valley, but we know that there's an incident in North County, et cetera. So do you have enough staff? We never have enough, but what is it that you need from us as a board to make sure that you have the tools and resources that you need so that this gets prioritized as we're moving forward? Because in the end, that's what the Air Pollution Control District is here to do, right? It's the entity that is supposed to be not only monitoring the air quality, but also finding the solutions to address the need so that everybody is able to breathe clean air no matter the zip code, right? So I don't know if that needs to be a motion. One additional item for the motion, because I do think that it would be important to also keep that.
So we have a motion for 1 through 4 that's on our agenda, and item 5, which deals with reporting back. I don't know if I want to go into the details of the language there, but report on how we can proceed going forward. Any other comments on the motion or a second? Mayor Gloria.
Thank you, Chair. Assuming that item number 5 is okay with staff.
If you'd like, I can address that.
Please.
Yes, we've taken this opportunity to start looking at our incident response plan, which this board adopted a couple of years ago. And we're going to be, as a team, drilling down and ensuring that it is reflective of all the efforts that we need countywide, and then bringing that back to the board for consideration. So we were planning to bring an update of that to the board in the spring of next year. And then if there are any budget or staffing issues that correspond to those needs, we identify those with that. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm happy to second the motion under that circumstance.
Motion and a second comment.
And then, Mr. Chairman, I just would extend my appreciation to staff. This is a tremendous amount of effort in a relatively short amount of time since the last board meeting to now. I'd hoped for as much, and you met that expectation, and I actually met very high expectations. So thank you to the entire team for doing that. You're responding to this in the nature, you're responding as it is, which is an emergency. You're treating it as such, and that's deeply appreciating to Chair Vargas's comments. Yes, that was exactly the intent behind making APCD independent and really charging it to do more. And this is a perfect example of what I think was envisioned by the legislature. Beyond that, just for the benefit of the public and for this item, as Chair Vargas, Chair Shu, was getting to, this is a multi-jurisdictional international issue that requires everyone to do their part. Everything from this agency to what the county is doing to what our state and federal delegations are doing. I wanted to inform the public and my colleagues here at the City of San Diego is also taking substantial steps in the last number of weeks to try and do our part, albeit relatively small, but all of these things do add up to an improved quality of life for the people of South San Diego, and specifically the City of San Diego Stormwater Department was notified recently, I think after our last board meeting, of foaming and gaseous discharges resulting from drainage culverts on Navy property near the city of Saturn Boulevard piece of property just north of Sunset Avenue in the Tijuana River Valley. After consulting with the County of San Diego and with this organization, APCD, we will soon be mobilizing our crews to conduct emergency maintenance of this channel to address the splash and aerosol effect by replacing riprap that is displaced under the culverts. I appreciate the partnership with APCD to make that possible. This work will take place immediately downstream from the culverts on the Navy property. And so we've been working closely and coordinating on scope of work with Navy personnel. So even the Navy has a piece of this. Here we go. But we're all working together. And I think that's something that the residents and businesses in South San Diego want to hear. Additionally, the city has recently completed reconstruction of a berm. It was a vital part of the storm channel in the Tijuana River Valley. This was a berm that was badly damaged back in January during the floods that happened throughout the community, but also in this area. That project took city staff about 3 weeks to complete and is reflective of our city's commitment to maintaining and enhancing the infrastructure in that area in order to protect against both future storms and to try and mitigate the smell and the pollution discharges in the area. So relatively small to the nature of the multi-billion-dollar investments that we need in infrastructure and maintenance. But again, everyone's trying to do their part. And again, I applaud the county, APCD, and the Navy for working with the city to effectuate these two small wins that hopefully when it's added to today's action will make life a little bit better for folks as we continue to advocate in Sacramento and Washington, D.C. So happy to second the item, Mr. Chairman, and thank you for your time.
Thank you. Any other comments? Councilmember,
yes, thank you, Chair Chu, and thank you to Member Vargas, to Member Gloria, to all the staff in the Governor Newsom's office and our staff for working on this and getting these resources. So I don't want to repeat everything, but I'm really happy with the work that you all, especially at APCD, our staff has done on it. And I do agree with Member Vargas that that's what we are tasked to do. And I really appreciate you, Paula, for making it happen and moving around the resources. And, you know, I know it's sometimes a difficult split decision that you and staff have to make and kind of putting a pause to some of the other projects. And I think you made the right call, and we appreciate that because it met the urgency of the moment. And there's a lot of great developments here, so I'm really appreciative of it. I know with Member Gloria, that area on Saturn, when I went there and toured with some of the scientists, the researchers from UCSD, from SDSU. So that area, the foam, it is really bad, and we can see where there's breaks in the infrastructure. So just having the city staff work on that and partner with the Navy, those they seem like little small things, but they actually can help a lot in stopping the aerosols of the water going on. So just I support this. It's great progress, and I hope to continue to see more. Just a couple of questions on the air filters. Did we get confirmation whether those air filters will also take care of hydrogen sulfide? So we did get that.
Yes, the inclusion of the potassium permanganate in those filters is designed to address that.
Okay, awesome. Thank you for that. And then in terms of the letter that we sent asking for the federal emergency declaration from the state and or President Biden's administration, have we sent that letter? Have we heard back? Do we have any information on what the status is of that emergency declaration?
We have not heard back. I know that Governor Newsom toured the area after that letter was sent, but we have not heard any directly.
Okay, well, yeah, I would appreciate if I would ask staff to follow up on that again. I mean, even if it's informally, just over email or phone call, just to see where that's at in the process. And now that we have a new federal administration coming in, I think this is potentially an opportunity. If the Biden administration doesn't want to declare an emergency, doesn't think that this is an emergency, regardless of the politics, then maybe it's time to reach out to the new incoming Trump administration to try to see if they're willing to declare an emergency. For me, I don't care who it is and what party, red or blue. I just want the emergency declared until someone can prove to me why an emergency shouldn't be declared. So I just want us to keep the pressure on that and put the politics aside. And hopefully we can get that from whatever administration is willing to take that step.
thank you, Councilmember Bush. Councilmember Bush, yeah.
Hi, I just, Martha, if you don't mind saying that slide. On the slide here, I was seeing that Nestor Elementary School on 11/6 had 22.6 and 21.5 parts per billion detected. Are we doing anything at the school site? I know that 30 parts per billion is what talks about, but I don't know if this board recalls. Some of my colleagues commented on the last meeting, children are fertile. They're close to the ground, so they actually may be breathing in higher levels. And it affects them differently. So I'm wondering if we're doing anything for the schools in that area.
We are, so we are currently working with the County of San Diego. The County Department of Public Health is working with us on a guidance specific for schools. We've been consulting with several of the school districts in that, well, all the school districts in that area. We've had a couple of meetings with their superintendents. And so we're working through that guidance. And right now, up on our website, we have some recommendations for schools if we're exceeding that 30 ppb level. You'll notice that these peaks happen on a relatively short basis. So these are hourly averages. And often what we'll see is a peak in the middle of the night and then levels dropping by school time the next day. We'll still be putting out odor advisories during the day if we've seen a peak the night before, just so that folks are aware of it, because there may be odors present at higher levels in different areas of the community where our monitors aren't, right? We want to make sure there's as much information out there as possible. But we'll also be coordinating with schools when those advisories go out. And we're also talking to them about what resources they may need and would be helpful to them, you know, beyond just that advice.
Do you mind if I share? So the superintendents from those specific school districts have reached out to the county, and we've shared with them what are the filters that we're getting, working with them closely, and they're trying to get additional dollars for their budget to be able to include that. That was one of the dreams in the bigger process, but I think we started with families first. And then I also failed to mention that, remember when we had the 414 filters that we've given away, 3,300 people are on our database right now that fit that category, if I remember the number correctly, right? That the goal is 10,000 because it's exactly what we needed. And that did not include the businesses and the school districts, which I think we need to figure out how to do that part as well. But we thought, okay, let's make sure people at home are safe, and then we'll try to expand, and we're going to continue that for additional dollars. They want to do.
Awesome.
Thank you, Chair. I just wanted to really thank the district and.
We'll have to
staff.
take a quick recess. I'm sorry, we don't currently have a quorum with Marcus gone.
Can I still thank them? Yes, thank you. I'll continue my thanks. It's really an amazing quick action that you took. I really want to congratulate you.
Mr. Chair,
On
please
the website.
speak louder, sir. We must listen to you.
Thank you. I'll try and
The
speak loud.
mics aren't operational. It's
Oh,
just
they're not working.
projecting.
Sorry, that's all I can do. But anyway, I really like that website with all the information. I thought it was really good, especially having the data as it's coming in. And I really appreciate also the fact that you provide information as to the actual health risk as compared to the odor. And I think it's important to distinguish between what is an odor issue and what is an adverse health effect. And I think the 30 parts per billion is, as we mentioned from the Office of Environmental Health Hazard Assessment, they set that limit as a comfort issue or discomfort from, possibly some headaches or transient health effects rather than an actual toxic event that can cause an adverse health effect. And I think it's really good. And then you put in the 27,000 parts per billion as being the one that actually can create a serious health effect, and we're not even close to that. So I think it's important for the public to understand the level of risk that they're facing, and I think your website does a really good job. I did have a question. I think Chair Vargas already asked what the schools have. I guess the answer is no, they don't have air filters right now, right?
Correct. From what we've heard from the school districts, they upgraded during COVID-19 to have higher grade filters, but they're not the same as what we would be looking at for hydrogen sulfide specifically.
Okay. And I did have a question about Kathy touching on you explained the children that attended school but then don't live in the area. Can you explain that again?
Sure, because we know that children are potentially more susceptible to the effects. We wanted to make sure to focus and make sure that families that have children have access to those resources. And from an administrative standpoint, because we will be working through some of the school districts to provide distribution events, we wanted to make sure that all of the children who were at that school had access to that filtration equipment for their families.
But their filter will be placed in their home.
Their filter will be at their home.
And their
yes.
home is not in the area of
Their home
hazard?
would be potentially slightly outside that orange boundary that's drawn, but still
But it's close
in
enough.
the general area.
Yeah, and logically, it doesn't make sense to put some filter in a home that is not in the affected area.
Right.
So,
From our estimates, it's a relatively small number of kids that may live outside the area, and most of them that do live pretty close.
Okay.
So administratively, excluding the ones that live farther away, if it's a very small number, seems counterproductive in terms of trying to get as many filters out as we possibly can. So we're partnering with those local schools. We've got events that are, we're looking at starting kind of a soft launch with those schools coming up in the next several weeks. And then we'll continue to refine this process to ensure that we're proceeding quickly, but hitting the target populations.
Thank you.
Any other comments? I want to make sure we vote on this item before any performance leaving it. Moves forum, but I want to make some quick comments. I'm equally elated as the other board members as the work that the APCD has done since our last board meeting. It's amazing to have standards, have things on our website, information, working with everyone else. So I want to give a lot of thanks, not just to our staff, but the other elected officials in this county that have moved forward on this item, the board of supervisors, to the cities that are involved, the council, City of San Diego, to Vista, and Solano Beach.
Wow.
A small grant from the City of Solano Beach. These are all efforts that I think are really shows a lot of us, everyone in our region working to try to deal with this issue. So I think some of these funding from the county was discretionary funding, and I think discretionary to other parts, other districts for that matter, than district that's being affected. So I think it's important to note that we're getting help from a lot of people. I also want to note that this region and its leaders also working very hard with the state and federal officials to get as many resources as we can. And that the flights that have been taking place by kind of supervisor Nora Vargas is amazing. We won't talk about the greenhouse gas emissions in your flights, but I think we do appreciate your efforts to bring help to our region to deal with this crisis. It is a crisis that needs this attention, and we need these resources as soon as we can. And now we may need them before the pot runs dry, unfortunately. So I think it's important for us to emphasize that. The changes, I think, to APCD in the last 4 years, I think has also enabled APCD to act quickly and to work with the community very closely. And I think that has a testament to the leadership, not of me, because I wasn't on the strategy policy committee of this board. It was the members of that committee early on that got us staffing to work with the community more closely and to be able to go into the schools and be trusted by the community as we do this distribution system. So I think I want to give lots of credit for those who were part this board, and worked on that 2-3 years ago. These things you don't get trust from community in 3 months. You get it because you were there years ago. And I think, we have members of our staff that did that in our efforts to work with communities more. So with that, if there's not any other comments, I'll ask for those all in favor of these, action items 1 through 5, item 5. Please say aye.
Aye.
Any nays? Any abstentions? Hearing none.
Thank you. With members Elo Rivera, Gomez, Lawson, Reamer, Martinez, and Sanchez absent, that motion passes with those board members who are present voting aye.
Thank you. It's time for us to move on to item 3. Notice of public hearing adoption of amendment rule on natural gas. Thank you. We ask that Supervisor Vargas and Mayor Gloria, can you stay for this item? This is the acting important item, please. Let's take it, please. We'll make it fast.
I'm gonna wait.
Try to go as fast as we can.
Thank you, Chair Shu, and I'll wait for that. I'll go ahead and start. Thank you, Chair Shu and governing board members. Today we'll be asking for your consideration of an amendment to our local rule 69.6 applicable to natural gas fired fan type central furnaces. The amendments, if adopted, will significantly reduce oxides of nitrogen or NOx throughout the region, which is critically needed to help the region attain state and federal ozone standards, and at the same time will improve public health in under-resourced communities. I'll now turn the presentation over to our lead engineer on this project, Mr. Archie De La Cruz. Archie? Thank you, Nate. Hello, Chair Shu and governing board members. For the proposed amendments to Rule 69.6, I'll be providing background information, a summary of the proposed amendments, and an overview of how the proposed changes will improve air quality and protect public health. Rule 69.6 was first adopted in 1998. This is the first time it is being proposed to be amended. Rule 69.6 regulates about 1.15 million applicable furnaces used in San Diego County. Applicable furnaces are those that have the properties listed on this slide. All applicable furnaces, wherever they are used, homes, schools, offices, and commercial buildings, are required to comply with Rule 69.6. The existing rule includes an emission standard of 40 nanograms of nitrogen oxides per joule, and also exempts furnaces used in mobile homes. Rule 69.6 is considered a point of sale rule, meaning manufacturers, distributors, and retailers of new furnaces are required to comply with the emission limits found in the rule at the time of sale. Next slide. Reducing NOx from furnaces is a strategy that has been identified in several recent APCD planning documents, including the one presented on this slide, and supported by the Portside and International Border Service. Enhancement in emission control technology have occurred since the rule's initial adoption and thus now warrants amending Rule 69.6 to require lower emitting devices to further improve public health. Next slide, please. The primary proposed amendment is to reduce the emission standard from 40 to 14 nanograms NOx per joule for applicable furnaces, with the exception of furnaces used in manufactured and mobile homes. For manufactured and mobile homes, furnaces that can meet the 14 nanogram limit are not currently available. Nonetheless, the district proposed to remove the current exemption for mobile homes and for the first time set a new emission standard of 40 nanograms for furnaces used in those settings. Technology that meets both proposed standards are readily available and are at the current emission standards in place at other air districts in California, including South Coast AQMD, Bay Area AQMD, and San Joaquin Valley APCD. Next slide, please. Other amendments proposed to modernize the rule include, but are not limited to, the ones presented here. Further detail of the proposed amendments are included in attachment B of the board package and further described in the corresponding staff report included in attachment D. Many of the proposed amendments are based on feedback provided by the district's Rules Committee, public workshop commenters, and input from the Portside and International Board of Community Steering Committee. Next slide, please. If adopted, and as is customary for a point of sale rule, the new emission standards would be effective 6 months after today's meeting to allow furnace providers the opportunity to sell or redistribute their existing furnace inventory that will not comply with the adopted new standards. Because Rule 69.6 is a point of sale rule, existing furnaces already installed in homes and other buildings will be allowed to continue to operate after the rule amendments are adopted. However, any existing furnaces that require replacement due to wear, age, or other reasons 6 months after adoption will need to install a replacement furnace that complies with either the new 14 nanogram limit or the 40 nanogram limit for manufactured and mobile homes. If the amendments are adopted, the district would conduct supplementary outreach to manufacturers, distributors, and local planning departments prior to the new emission standards going into effect. Ensure they know about the new emission limits. Next slide, please. Proposed amendments, if adopted, will result in a reduction of approximately 256 tons of NOx per year upon full realization of the proposed amendment, which will be the largest reduction of NOx from the stationary source rulemaking in San Diego County in recent years. Using EPA's co-benefits risk assessment tool, this emission reduction translates to reducing up to 572 restricted activities and lost work days, and up to 46 in negative health impacts, such as bronchitis, respiratory system, asthma, emergency room visits, hospital appointments. New furnaces able to comply with the proposed standards are estimated to cost approximately $5,650, which is about $550 more than the furnaces that comply with the existing rules. The cost effectiveness of $95 per pound of NOx reduced was determined for the proposed amendments. While the estimated cost effectiveness is higher than typical previous district rule development actions, the district believes that such costs are justified, given that the technology is readily available and the region's need to significantly reduce emissions that contribute to ozone pollution and attain state and federal standards. Additionally, the district's rule development threshold is not intended to apply to furnaces, since they are not required to obtain a permit to operate from the district. Next slide. During the district evaluation of the proposed amendment, staff considered mandating zero emission limits for furnaces countywide. San Diego County has a need to significantly reduce NOx emissions to achieve state and federal ozone standards, with deadlines approaching in 2026 and 2032. The proposed amendments utilize readily available technology that can be deployed quickly at minimal cost. Next slide, please. Other air districts and furnace manufacturers predict zero emission furnaces technology will likely be readily available by 2028 or 2029, indicating that the market is maturing but not quite ready yet. Staff identified potential equity and cost concerns associated with the mandatory zero emission standards for those living in low income and under-resourced communities. The district determined costs for zero emission furnaces can range between $2,900 to $30,000 more than the compliant 14 nanogram devices, depending on whether upgrades are needed for their electrical panel and underground wiring. And while funding is available to assist in covering some of those costs, not everybody qualifies. Funding is not guaranteed long-term, and such funding does not create parity with the compliant 14 nanogram device cost. With these concerns, no air district in California to date has mandated zero emissions technology for furnaces sooner than 2019. In the interim, these air districts have enacted ultra-low NOx emission standards that is presented for your consideration here today. CARB is actively working on zero emissions regulations for furnaces and other appliances that is slated to be considered for their board next year that would require zero emission furnaces starting in 2029. If adopted, the district hopes and expects any cost and equity concerns to be mitigated. The district fully supports CARB's efforts and would seek to align local rule 69.6 in the future if a statewide regulation is adopted. In the interim, the district will continue to encourage residents that are ready and capable of making the switch to zero emission and any reliable funding opportunity. Next slide, please. I think we'll go ahead and go to the recommendation slide. And we just ask that you, our recommendation today is to adopt the recommendation as proposed, and we're available to answer any questions.
So Supervisor Vargas needs to leave. I want to ask, our council, can we take a vote on the item before public comment or not? No? I think we have 4 public comments. I'm going to ask public commenters, if you're in favor of this, please go very quickly so we can actually go forward with it. Otherwise, we'll get delayed.
Thank
Go ahead,
you.
take public
Our
comment.
first public commenter is Nicholas Powell. You'll have 1 minute to address the board. Nicholas Powell.
Not you.
Nicholas Powell, Mr. Javier, Nicholas Powell. We'll call you in just a minute. You have 1 minute. Go ahead and.
Yeah, this will be really quick. You know, I just wanted to vocalize the UBC support for these amendments. You know, the NOx emissions reductions are going to be very positive and potentially get us closer to attainment status for overall. So wanted to vocalize that.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Serena Pelka. You have 1 minute.
Thank you. Hi, Serena Pelka with Climate Action Campaign. I'll try to also make it really quick. We just are here really excited about this rule amendment. It's extremely important. We heard a little bit today in the presentation, and we can see in the staff report the real tangible benefits that this will create for communities, especially the Portland communities and international border communities. So we urge you to adopt this rule amendment and please support this so we can see all of the positive health benefits that we're seeing.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Cesar Javier. You have 1 minute to address the board.
Thank you. I am confused with how the casino game is being played. I want to win. I remember I support these changes that the use of gas for homes is completely must be stopped. Let us not wait for that time of 2029. My good friend Marcus Bush, you were the chair before my friend Sue. Just to remind you. And sir, Mr. Gloria, the permanent emission in our neighborhood is fueled by gas because your code enforcement says it's cleaner. It is contra to what
This isn't relevant.
they are telling us. Thank you. Yes, sir.
Thank you. Your time is concluded. That
Thank you
concludes
for
public
listening,
testimony.
sir. Do your work. You have still time.
Keep calling me out there.
I can implement it.
I'll text you out in the parking lot.
Our next speaker.
You forget up in the city, honey.
Our next speaker is David Stevens. You have 1 minute to address the board. Please begin by stating your name for the record. You can begin, Mr. Stevens.
Okay, you can hear me, yes?
Yes.
Very good, yes. I'm David Stevens, Dr. David Stevens. I'm with Johnson Controls, manufacturer of equipment. And my concerns are, I won't say concern. I would say that the staff did a good job. I commented at the June meeting. They listened, they adapted, they put out a very good rule. There are a couple items that are of concern. One is that there's no question, are you moving towards a zero NOx equipment? I would strongly encourage you to consider, if not for this rule, then subsequent renditions of this rule, to consider dual fuel systems as a bridge. A dual fuel system, well, is a combination of a heat pump and a gas furnace in extreme conditions. Consider this as a bridge towards zero. It will cost less in the long run for the consumers and meet the emissions requirements sooner. Second has to do with some of the emissions documentation requirements. And I know my time's up, so I'll stop there. But when you look at section 3E, there's some concerns with that.
Thank you. Any comments or questions from any board members? If not, I'll entertain a motion to approve item on this item and requested actions 1 through 3 on item 3. Any motion to that effect? Moved by Supervisor Vargas and seconded by Medina. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any nays? And abstentions? None. The motion passes. We want to vote on the same vote.
Thank you. That motion adopts a resolution entitled Resolution Adopting Amended Rule 69.6 Natural Gas Fire Fan Type Central Furnaces of Regulation 4 of the Rules and Regulations of the San Diego County Air Pollution Control District with members Elo Rivera, Gomez, Lawson, Reamer, Martinez, and Sanchez absent. That motion passes with those board members who are present voting aye.
Thank you. Can we continue with item 4? If any members?
Yes, because I know that. Yes, I have to go, but I'll be late. I'll be late to the other meeting.
Thank you. Let's go on to item number 4, adoption of San Diego Pollution Environmental Review Guidelines for the implementation of the California Environmental Policy Act.
Thank you, board members. The formal adoption of the SDAPCD CEQA guidelines by the staff, project applicants, and our responsible agencies, and the public regarding air quality requirements and review standards. On October 10th, we presented the proposed guidelines to the Planning and Policy Committee. The committee recommended approval of the proposed guidelines. So today's request is to adopt the resolution entitled Resolution Adopting the San Diego County Air Pollution Control District Environmental Review Guidelines, procedures for implementing the California Environmental Quality Act. Thank you.
There is a staff presentation available if anyone on the board would like it, but again, as Miami mentioned, this was presented to the Planning and Policy Committee.
If we can, not hear the staff with committee will allow us to move on this item now. The planning and study really did receive it, make some comments, and it was very good action at that time. Hearing that, I would hear a motion to approve.
Public comment.
Oh, I'm sorry, public comment.
We have one member of the public that wants to speak, Mr. Cesar Javier. You have 1 minute to address the board.
For purposes of timing, could you just remind the public to make sure that they're on this item?
Sure.
So you'll need to make sure that you're speaking to address the recommended action that is before the board and that only for this item. So
Yes,
you'll,
ma'am.
thank you.
Don't consider my request.
No,
Please, I
You
just
have,
would
you
like,
have 1 minute to address the board.
Just make it pertain to the.
yes, sir. Did you receive my input, sir?
We'll still look at it, but this is your time now.
I asked
Javier.
the lady there
It was
planning,
included with the packet. You can go ahead and begin your comments. Your time is ticking.
am I allowed to continue my 1 minute, ma'am?
Yes, it's going now.
I vehemently against this proposal because I learned that the district already has been implementing. They are the lead agency on air to protect air so that human beings will survive. When we say suitable environment, it includes land, which is the third of the land use at the county, perhaps, or water, soap, or salt coming from the ocean. And that's also the third of the loose, not Mr. Loose, of the Air Pollution Control District. I was confused in the beginning in 2022, ma'am.
Your time is ended. Thank you.
Thank you, Javier. Any comments or?
It's unacceptable. It's a waste of money,
Thank you, sir.
resources. Thank you.
Any comments or questions from the board members? If not, I would entertain a motion to approve that recommendation of this item number 4.
I'll move.
Moved by Medina, seconded by Bush. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any nays? Abstentions? None.
Thank you. That motion passes with board members Elo Rivera, Gomez, Lawson, Reamer, Martinez, and Sanchez absent. All remaining board members being present and voting aye. And adopted the subsequent resolution. So all remaining items will be continued to the February 13th, 2025 governing board meeting. February 13th, 2025, APCD governing board meeting.
Yeah, so we don't have, no longer have a quorum, so technically this meeting has come to a close in November 14th meeting of APCD.
Is the meeting?
Oh.
Thank you.
Thank you, Maureen. So who's gonna chair the next meeting? The clerk. Or actually.